Welcome in everybody to the first edition of Ferris State AD Update. I'm joined by Ferris State Athletic Director Steve Brockelbank. Thank you so much for joining us, Steve, and glad we can get this show up and running because I know you have a lot that you want to talk about here on this first episode.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Brandon. This is something that we've talked about for quite a while, putting a show like this together to be able to provide some additional information to people in regards to what's happening inside of athletics, right? I think people have the opportunity to go on our webpage or follow us on social media, see, Rob and his staff do a great job of covering our events and our games and our student athletes, but sometimes there's things that happen in the athletic department that we always don't get an opportunity to share with people, and so I think this platform will allow us to do that.
Absolutely. We look forward for you guys joining us here along the ride. Ferris Athletics on YouTube, in case you miss any episodes, and that's where you'll find this show. But obviously, we'll start off with student athletes are back. We're in week 2 of the semester, and I know the number one thing that you talk about whenever you're talking to fans, the community, is your favorite thing about being an athletic director is seeing the student athletes come back. And now it's really fun.
There's no doubt, right? There's no doubt. I mean, just the energy and enthusiasm that they bring. You spend 3 months in the summer in the athletic offices working. It's quiet, so you have an opportunity to get a lot done, which is fantastic. But you do miss that energy, right? And you miss those smiling faces. And so to have them come back, it's just a reminder as to why we do this and why we did this work all summer. And what we were preparing to do was to serve these student athletes and coaches. And so to have them all back in the building with that level of energy that they bring with them just reaffirms for us why we do what we do.
Absolutely. And the Bulldogs in a full slate this weekend. Obviously, as people will be hearing it, it will be in the past, but just talk about just having football back, cross country, soccer, and volleyball also on the road and kicking off their seasons here for Ferris State.
Yeah, volleyball starting today, and so, unfortunately they won't be back in our building until October, which is really disappointing. I've had the opportunity to watch them scrimmage, and they look really good, right? So I'm excited for the start of their season, and I'm definitely looking forward to having them back here on campus in October. Football, home opening football game, which always just, I think, just naturally brings a lot of excitement, and people are optimistic for the season. And I know we had a setback last week at Pitt State, but still, really, we have a fantastic football program, really, really great coaching staff, some talented student athletes on that team, and so excited for Saturday to get here, and then cross country opening up their season will be at Khaki on Saturday morning, so I'll have an opportunity to go watch those young people run on Saturday morning, and soccer's opening up today against Cedarville, and so looking forward to the start of that season as well.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun, and we'll dive into some of the topics here, and I know there's a couple that you want to talk about here towards the end that I know a lot of people are waiting for when it comes to new facilities, but we'll get there, guys. Hang with us. But some of the new hires that you brought in, especially here this year, a lot of very fantastic resumed individuals that are looking to take the next step here for Ferris State Athletics and really help the programs move forward.
Yeah, we lost Andrew Thiede, who was our head strength and conditioning coach, and he did such a wonderful job when he was here, and was so deeply appreciated by all of our student athletes and coaches, and was extremely knowledgeable. And so there was a big concern, right, when he left, like who's going to fill these shoes, and can we find somebody to do that? And I really think we hit a home run. We hired Colton Haynes. He comes from Delta State, and he's done a wonderful job with our student athletes. And I've talked to a number of our student athletes and coaches, and they couldn't be more pleased with what Colton has done since his arrival here in July with our student athletes. And we have a lot of student athletes up on campus in the summer, so he had an opportunity to come right in, hit the ground running. He was kind of thrown to the fire, so to speak, but he's done a really good job of developing those student athletes, and so I feel like we have not missed a beat at all, and I'm so really fortunate to have him. And then he brought with him Dominic Hall, his graduate assistant from Delta State, and so Dom's here with us, and he's doing a great job as well, working with our teams. And so I feel really good about where we're at down in that strength and conditioning room. We have a new weight room. It's 2 years old now, right? And so we've got great facilities, wonderful equipment down there. But obviously, at the end of the day, you need people to understand how to use that equipment, understand how to use that facility, understand rest, recovery, all the things that go with strength and conditioning, right? It's not the old school strength and conditioning where it's just, hey, come in, pound out a few sets, and then hit the road, right? There's a lot more to it. And Colton understands that. He also works extremely well with our athletic trainers on the rehab portion, so he's heavily involved in that as well. So couldn't be more pleased with Colton's hiring in that position. So excited about that. And then we hired Pramela Harris. She's going to be our new stunt coach. So I don't think it's even been on the webpage yet, but it will be soon. We're going to announce the addition of stunt. That'll be out officially. We have hired a head coach, Pramela Harris. So Pramela she's got a long history involved in competitive cheer and stunt. So I really feel fortunate that we were able to find somebody with her level of experience that was willing to relocate to Big Rapids and launch our program. So for folks not familiar, stunt is a combination of competitive cheer, gymnastics, and tumbling. It's an NCAA emerging sport. So we're excited to have it. And so we will not be in the GLIAC. The GLIAC doesn't sponsor stunt. So we're working through that process right now, which conference we'll be in. Excited about Pramela and her hire. And then now she's going to begin working on hiring an assistant coach. And then her recruiting efforts have already started. So I met with her last week, and she came in with a list of recruiting events that she has to attend. And so she'll be at those. And for the first time ever, we'll start recruiting young women to our stunt program. The byproduct of stunt will be cheer, so we'll begin to sponsor a varsity cheer program too as well for both the fall and the winter. And Pramela and her assistant will oversee that program as well. So I'm excited to see that too. And I think that corresponds well with the launch of the marching band here at Ferris State. So, next year we're going to launch the marching band in the fall of 25, and so to coincide with that, we'll be launching a new varsity cheer program. So I think from a game day enhancement standpoint, people should really see an impact there, having a varsity cheer program, having a marching band, and then obviously the start of stunt. And stunt is really a winter spring sport, so that's when you'll see that group actually compete.
Yeah, and especially with having stunt, having the marching band coming in, a lot of new sports coming around Ferris, and especially when it comes to stunt and the addition of that, what were some of the key reasons on why you wanted to look in that avenue and then eventually go for it and say, hey, we're going to have stunt here at Ferris State?
Well, I got to give President Pink a lot of credit, right? We're fortunate. We talked about hitting a home run with Colton. Well, we hit a home run with hiring our president, right? So as an athletic director, I'm really fortunate and probably spoiled, to be quite honest with you, because President Pink is a former student athlete. He's a former coach. He told me at one point he thought he was on an AD track, and obviously got his PhD, and then now went down the academic track and the administrative track, and is now our president. But so when I go have conversations with President Pink, he gets it, right? He understands athletics. I think we kind of speak the same language when we sit down and talk. But one of the things that we knew we had to address was we want to continue to add female sports to Ferris, right? We need more women student athletes. And so how do we do that? We looked at what sports were available. One of them that was available, and we thought, hey, we have the facilities to do this right away, is stunt, right? So stunt, you need a gymnasium to actually compete in. Well, we have two of those right now with Bulldog Arena added on. They need a practice facility with high ceilings. Well, we have that rubber room or all-purpose room available for them to practice in. So we had practice facilities. We had a competition facility already lined up. So it just made sense to say, hey, let's get this sport launched, especially after it became an NCAA emerging sport. It'll help address some of our Title IX issues that we continue to work towards. And so it just made sense.
Yeah, and obviously, talking about facilities, it's only fair that now we get to what the people came here for. Just talk about especially the addition of eventually getting Top Taggart Field renovated. The addition of the new field house is announced in President Pink's Founders Day address. Huge news for Bulldogs fans, and really news that was a long time coming.
Yeah, it really was. So excited, right? I think everybody is. We've been working all summer with Integrative Design Solutions and Granger Construction and putting together plans and talking, where do we want to take this thing and what do we want it to look like? And so the start's going to be a residence hall, right? So the residence hall will begin on the north side of the stadium, and President Pink has said this, that the intent is to have a shovel in the ground next spring and to begin construction of that facility. I think it's going to be awesome. I think it's, we need updated residence halls here on campus. It attracts students. We understand that's important to students. And so beginning the construction of that new residence hall will be a significant step in the right direction for us as we work to attract more students to Ferris State. But it's also going to be really cool, right? I mean, if you're a student and you get to live in that residence hall right next to the football stadium, you talk about an awesome view, right? There's lots of activity. There's not only just football out here all the time, but there's other activities that happen all the time on this field.
Right.
So as a student, you're going to have a view of all of that, right? And you're going to be close to the action, and you're going to be right in the center of campus. We're really fortunate in that our football facility, right, and it's not just football, but Taggart Field is in the center of campus, and not a lot of institutions can say that, right? A lot of times your athletic facilities are placed out on the edge of campus or even off campus, and so we're really fortunate in that Taggart Field is right here in the center of campus. So that housing piece is not going to be really cool as a student in terms of your view, but you're also right in the center of campus, right?
Right.
And so looking at some of those layouts and designs, you're going to have an opportunity to move into a brand new residence hall. So I'm excited about that. It's going to begin to give this facility more of a stadium feel, right? But you begin by enclosing the ends, right? So that's where we're going to start. We're going to enclose that end on the north side, and then the south side. We obviously have the plans, and President Pink revealed those at Founders Day, to put up a new indoor and then a new athletic facility with locker rooms and training rooms, some of those things to support both our football program, future programs, women's soccer, and then have the indoor facility, which will impact everybody, right? When you think about an indoor facility and who it impacts, I mean, it's not only your varsity teams, it's every varsity team that essentially plays or practices on grass, right? So they're all going to be impacted. So it's not just a football indoor, right? And I want to get people to understand it's a softball indoor, it's a women's soccer indoor, right? So there's lots of folks that can have an opportunity from a varsity athletic standpoint that will be able to use that indoor facility that will help advance our programs, but also recreation, right? Intramurals, right? So there will be opportunities for students to use that, for the community to use it, for us to host indoor track meets, because there's going to be a track put in there, right? And so that's 300-meter track. So now our track and field program has a really high-end quality facility to prepare in and also to compete in, right? We have not been able to host we haven't hosted any long time track and field events. So now this will give us a facility to do that. But we'll also have large high school meets. We'll have large indoor state track meets. So that'll bring more prospective students to campus. So when you look at all the benefits of what and the impact that indoor will have, it's really significant. So excited about that too, and obviously there's going to be a fundraising push for that, and we hope to see that happen sooner rather than later. But we know we're going to start with the residence hall. President Pink has said that, and then we'll keep progressing our way and working on the stadium. And the stadium's long overdue for numerous upgrades, right? We know that, and so it's just great that there's a vision and there's a plan and there's intent, and people are all working in the same direction to make that happen.
Yeah, we can't be more excited, and I know the fans at home can't be more excited for a lot of these things. And speaking of football here, on our last topic of football scheduling, just came off of week 0, playing at Kansas against Pitt State, a powerhouse program. And week 0 games in Division II weren't really an idea until this year, and obviously we were able to make it happen. And just talk about the scheduling aspect, because I know you had a lot of hoops to jump through when it comes to talking to committees, getting the NCAA on board to say, hey, these two teams want to play football in week 0, let's make it happen.
Yeah, so we passed week 0 last January at the NCAA convention. And it took some sponsorship by different conferences to get that to the floor to be voted upon. We just felt it was important. There's a committee I'm on, the Football Alliance Committee, and one of the things that we talked about was the importance of having week 0. One, it provides an opportunity for teams to get 11 games. So when you only have 11 weeks to get 11 games in, sometimes that can be really challenging, right, in terms of trying to match up schedules, especially when we need so many non-conference opponents. So that's one of the things we said, hey, if we put an additional week in there, it gives us some flexibility in terms of scheduling, gives us a better opportunity to get those 11 games. As you know, we have only really played 10 games here for a long time every year. And a lot of it's just due to the fact we just can't find anybody to match up in the weeks that we have available, which is typically a week, right, if we have the other dates all full. The other thing it allows is it allows for a bye week. It guarantees you a bye week in there, which we think is really important for the health and safety of our football student athletes. I mean, it's a high-impact sport. To give those young men an opportunity to have a week of rest and recovery, we thought was really critical. So credit to Jim Johnson. He's the AD at Pitt State. Once we passed week 0, he and I got together and began working on, hey, let's this is something we advocated for. So let's get a game on the books and get it going. So, and what a wonderful team to open up with, two of the perennial powers in Division II, right? Ferris and Pitt State. And so we had an opportunity to go down there. Obviously, the result wasn't what we wanted it to be, but I wouldn't change the scheduling of the game. I think it's great for Division II football to play a game like that. It's good for our student athletes. It's good for their student athletes to face competition that's really stiff. And so we'll have them back actually next year in week 0, and we hope to find games in the future similar to that game that we can play in week 0. So couldn't be more pleased with that, and looking forward to now week 1, right? So this week.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Thank you so much, Steve, for joining us. Appreciate you, and we're glad to get this thing running. I know you've really wanted this show for a long time.
I have. The other thing I want to say about football scheduling before we close out is just, we've had some challenges with football scheduling, right? So it's, there are teams in our conference similar to us. When you achieve a certain level of success, it's really challenging to get teams to say, yeah, we'll come and play you, right? Because there's lots of availability. There's lots of teams available to play. But trying to encourage someone to come to Ferris State and play at top Taggart against a program that's been as good as we've been, and it's a credit to Coach Anise and his entire staff and President Pink and the administration for all their support. It takes a lot of pieces, right, to put a program into that position, but that's what we have done here at Ferris, right? So the challenge is finding teams to play, and week 0 helps us in that. But it'll continue to be a challenge for us as we try to seek games out into 25, 26, and 27. I'm happy to announce that we just signed, I shouldn't say, I'm not going to say it yet because we haven't announced it, but we do have a contract with a Division II team now in 25, and then again, we're going to see them again in 27. So that's good. And so we'll continue to make progress on scheduling, but I just hope everybody understands the hurdles and the challenges for us, with our conference, with a limited number of members that we have that play football. It really forces all of us to go out and find a large number of games, and depending upon the success of your program, that can become a real challenge. And for us, it's a blessing and a curse, right? It's a blessing that we're so good. It's a curse because scheduling becomes really, really challenging for all of us, and I know for myself, and Sarah Higley who helps me with the scheduling, and Cedric Frierson who's helped with the scheduling, and Coach Anise and Coach Rock and everybody that's been involved in the scheduling, because it takes all of us, to be honest with you, because trying to find a game usually requires multiple emails and multiple phone calls and lots of conversations, and then again, President Pink's support in terms of helping us financially when we need financial help to get an opponent in here. So it just takes a lot. It takes a lot. But so week 0 is a step in the right direction. It certainly helps.
Absolutely. Maybe here on this show we'll reveal who that contracted team is. Only one.
I don't want to do it until the other school's good too. Right?
Of course. So, but thank you so much, Steve. And I think the people really love to hear. We hear the news, we hear what's coming, but the backstory behind it and the things that you have to come through. So, just glad that the fans now have an avenue to hear from you and hear some of those things.
Yeah, and I appreciate you doing it. So, I think this is a great start, and it was a great first show. Thank you.
Absolutely. Follow along Ferris State Athletics on social media and YouTube for the next episode of Ferris State Update.
Thank you.